chain drug review, and mass market retailers video forum. Brought to you by the Emerson Group.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Wolt, Editor-in-Chief of Retail Media IQ. Welcome to our video forum. Today, we're delighted to be talking with Wendy Liebmann, CEO and Chief Shopper at WSL Strategic Retail. Wendy, always good to see you.
Thank you, Jeff. Great to be here.
We're here basically today to talk about Women's Wellness, the Next Revolution, which is a day-long event that you will be moderating and be in New York City on June 25th. But before we get to that, I do want to ask you about the new study from WSL in the How America Shop series. Mm-hmm. This one also focused on wellness. Maybe you could give us some of the key highlights of that study and what they tell us about women's health specifically.
This new piece of research, as you know, we've been doing this series on health and wellness for at least a decade. And every 2 years, we dive in to see how the landscape has shifted. And I think what has been really interesting pre-pandemic, during pandemic, and post-pandemic is we've seen this evolution or revolution from sort of sick care to healthcare to well care to self-care to, fill in the blanks, right? And here we are several years post-COVID or post the pandemic. And people are still incredibly focused on their health and wellness. There is absolutely no doubt. But what we're seeing this time, which is new, is this beginning of people starting to push back. And when I say push back, we've called the study Wellness Breakdown. And the play on that is very much that we as an industry, whether we're manufacturers or retailers or service providers, have really provided an incredible array of products and places and information around health and wellness to support the desire of the consumer shopper over the last decade. But all of a sudden, it's getting a little bit much for people. And so that pushback we're starting to see is, too much. Is there too much? Is it too complicated? Is it hard to navigate? I'm willing to do the work. I want to do the work, but there's just too much out there. And that's a challenge. That's a challenge of, is there too much product? Is there too much not the right product? Is it not merchandised in a way that I can find it easily? Is there too much information? So on the one hand, the opportunity is massive. People still want to take care of their health. They see more than ever in this work the financial imperative, not just the physical, mental, social imperative, but the financial imperative to stay healthy because you can't afford to be sick. So that's all there. The willingness to go out and study and get information, use all the resources at hand, that's still there. But life is chaotic. The world is chaotic. It's hard. Don't make it harder for me to be healthier. So the long and long of that story is that's the big insight coming out of this work. And then also understanding the gaps we're starting to see, the different types of consumers who are starting to push back. The ones who feel they're not served as much, women, for one. And then all the new tools like AI in the mix and all the digital tools for information and where people are going. So we're seeing all of that quite diagnostically, as well as all the places they're willing to shop and buy and all the places that they're willing to say, maybe not today.
Maybe you could tell us about where some of the other gaps exist in the market and also what retailers and I guess CPG companies need to do to try and help people on their health and wellness journey.
I always say that where women's health goes, so goes the entire family, right? Mm-hmm. So that is a group, a big segment of all our populations who are just saying, guys, life is complicated. Don't make it harder for me. So there's that one. The other is we start to see some of the younger groups of shoppers who are saying, you know what, we don't trust everybody that much. Where are we willing to go to buy or for our information? Or we're going to really adopt more, I'm going to call them new age, but they're not really, new ways to think about health and wellness. even pushing back and sort of giving up on some things. So we're seeing across the board, not just with younger, but we're seeing people who are saying now, maybe I'm not going to smoke so much less. Maybe I'm not going to give up vaping. Life is hard. So, I smoke occasionally, a vape occasionally. We're seeing that come back to play. But younger, because they're looking in different ways, they're feeling healthier, but they're very conscious of what their parents and grandparents are going through, and they're very conscious about the cost of healthcare. So that's an audience. We're also seeing populations like African American and Black populations who are saying, we're not seen in this healthcare world, so very much more engaged in doing their own work around using digital, all the digital tools for information, even thinking about digital resources, because they're not seeing the more traditional medical communities or retail communities serving their needs. So they're off on their own, figuring out how to do it for themselves. So there's a willingness by everybody to get on with it, but we as an industry are making it harder. So the answer to the second part of your question about, so what should we be doing about it? I think part of it is we have tended to throw products at people as opposed to solutions. What people are looking for is both not just here's a product for this, but rather here's a way to think about either a condition or some kind of way I can take better care of myself for the future or my family. So they're thinking about sort of a bundle of solutions, not just take this product for sleep or that product for stress or, again, immunity, but how do I think about it more of as a lifestyle and a life stage? So those kind of solutions rather than just more stuff. Sorry, not to be disrespectful to our viewers or readers and all of the above. That's one piece. I think the other piece is the cost of health. And so both in these times, of course, when gas prices are going up, cost of goods are going up, of many things people buy every day, it's not that we're only suggesting, people will move down to lower price. That's possible. But they're also looking for what will this do for me that saves me somewhere else. So I only think of an example of that we saw years ago in when it was whitening toothpaste, and that whitening toothpaste were hugely successful in dollar stores, one brand in particular, and you'd say, but they're premium priced. But the value was, I can't get to the dentist as often, I can't get my teeth whitened, I smoke more, et cetera, et cetera. It was a bigger solution than just, a premium priced oral care product. So those are the other pieces. How do we tell a more a clearer story about the value proposition of staying healthy and give people solutions to do that? It's a different lens to what we in the CPG and even pharmacy world live in, where we say, you're sick, here's a product.
You do hear our friends in the pharmacy field, and also increasingly with the food as medicine movement in supermarkets as well, talking about wanting to do what you've been suggesting.
Yeah.
What are the next steps? What should they be doing to try and get to that point?
Yeah, I actually think that some of the work that's going on at the moment is really terrific. It is that, to your point, the food as medicine. You see it particularly in the grocery business. I think if we think about, all the people we study and know in, whether it's the Krogers or the Hy-Vees or the Myers or the ShopRites, people, not to narrow it down only to those, but for example, the response to GLP-1s, initially it was the, okay, great, wonderful pharmacopoeia that went with that, great solution for people, but we don't get reimbursed. Oh, guess what? People need to know more about how to use those products, what goes with them, healthier eating. And I think the way some of the grocery retailers and Walmart as well, in that Costco, how they bundled resources for people in that space has been really powerful. And that's the kind of solution, both in terms of spending and value proposition, as well as making people's lives easier. We've talked about that a lot in terms of diabetes before GLP-1s. How do you help people or families where somebody now is a diabetic? How do you help people who are taking care of older family, older friends, neighbors, whatever? How do you help bundle resources and help them with those sort of solutions? So I think we are beginning on that journey. And then at the other end, you've got people like Aldi who are saying, okay, we can do more healthier organic food at a better price. We can sell protein powder at people want it. We can do it at $14.99 versus $25 at somewhere else. So you've got different kinds of options going on there, but we see the retailers really being the ones in many ways who are leading the way here.
Let me narrow our focus a little bit. We've said that women's health is one of the areas where there's opportunity and also a gap at the moment. Tell us about the event and how it's going to illuminate the themes that you and I have been discussing.
This is a symposium, and we're delighted to be partnering with Retail and Media IQ on this, which is exciting. Thank you for that.
Well.
Yeah, so this is an event we try to do every 2 years. And until this year, it's been very much focused on health more broadly. This year, because of this understanding that in many ways we've come a long way, baby, that used to be a line from some cigarette commercial, I think, speaking of health, in the conversations around women's health, again, in some ways, hit a wall on that too. So one of the things we know, not enough research around women's health in terms of the medical community. And again, that noise level has encouraged more work being done in that space. So that's great. And we will talk about that at the symposium with medical doctors talking about that. That elevation, the other thing we've been doing, right, we now taboo words we talk about all the time. We talk about menopause and perimenopause and, period care and all of these things. And we throw lots of products out and said, look at this, aren't we great? But again, we haven't stepped back and said, are we making it more complicated? How do we need to deal with it moving forward? So that's sort of the premise of this symposium is all about what we're calling the next revolution. Okay, we've come to here, but there's so much more to do. So that day is built around understanding where we are, the opportunities now and the areas that we need to push forward on. So, we've been talking about sexual health and wellness. We've been talking about everything from, again, GLP-1s, protein, gut health, all of those things. We're now talking about longevity. What does that mean? And so through the day, we will have, as I said, experts, medical experts. We will have retailers. We will have brand people in each of those areas who are saying, here's where we are, here's where we're going, and here are the challenges we have. So we have a great, a diverse group of speakers from retailers like Walmart and Ulta, who's doing a lot around wellness. We have global speakers who are coming in, Holland and Barrett, the UK and European retailer who does a lot on women's health. We have Mecca from Australia that's just added an apothecary into their beauty stores. So we have that sort of global view as well as the US view. And then we're going to be talking to, as I said, financial people. Morgan Stanley's going to talk about a new study they've done called the She Economy and the money we're leaving on the table by not helping women and their families with their health. Investment, the investment community, where they're thinking about investing, as well as, brand people who've led the way in some of these areas. Nielsen IQ's coming in. So again, it's that diverse look at where we are, where we're headed, where we need to go through the lens of researchers, brands, retailers, with the goal to have the audience walk away and say, we've got a lot of work to do, and here are the 3 things we can as a company be doing in the future to move forward in this.
A couple of final questions for you, Wendy. We've touched on this before, but maybe you could talk about how you would characterize the opportunity for both retailers and CPG companies, I guess, in terms of helping their own business, but more important, supporting their customers and patients as they try to work their way through all the options that are out for us.
I just think there's so much opportunity here. I mean, so much. when we think about the desire, and we see that in the research that our new health research, this 8 out of 10 people tell us that they are doing something every day within their life to try and take care of their own health. And it's not special, fancy, whatever. It could be just the economic importance of doing it, because, as I said, we can't afford to be sick these days. So part of that conversation about the opportunity, when we say people are pushing back and things are breaking down, it's not because people don't want to do this. It's just we're not making it easier for them. So I think the marching orders, the call to action, both from the people who attend the symposium and the broader audience of your listeners and viewers, is that don't think by just throwing another product or another piece of technology or another display or another communication in the old world way that you are going to help people solve this problem or this opportunity, because they will go somewhere else. And we've seen it. Many more places to buy, many more ways to get my information. I can buy on social media. I can go to, digital e-commerce only supply retailers. I can do so many things today. And if we want them in the communities that we serve, then our audiences have to really just open their mind to who is this consumer and shopper and what do they need today.
People who do want to join the revolution, who would you like to see in the audience, and how do people get involved if they do want to attend?
This is a broad swath. I think CPG companies, even pharma companies on the front side, retailers of any kind. As you see, we've got a sort of a very interesting mix of retailers, investment community. We'll have one of the in private equity companies talking about where they're investing and how they're thinking about it. And I think also the tech community, because we know in all the new research we've done is all the places people are going for their information and even to buy. So those sort of all the pillars that support this, not being greedy, but I think everybody will find this of great, both inspirational and practical value at the end of the day. So everybody's welcome. If you want to stand at the barricades with us, we're here. And the other piece is to sign up, to reserve a ticket. Thank you. You can either go to our website, which is wslstrategicretail.com. You can go to Retail Media IQ, to MMR, or to Chain Drug Review. You can click on the link and sign up there. And of course, everybody's welcome, and sponsors too. So if you want to sponsor, come along.
Absolutely. No, it should be a great day. I look forward to it. And thank you for taking the time to fill us in today.
Thanks, Jeff. A pleasure as always.